Hello, my name is Violet Newby. I would like to welcome you to Paint a Beautiful Picture. We've been talking about ways to raise your child, to teach your child, to train your child, to nurture your child, to train your child with intention. And we have also talked about principles, laying down a foundation of principles upon which you can establish yourself as a good parent and how you can help your child to be a healthy and productive human being. Today, I want to talk to you about the principle of building. It's so frustrating as a parent because every minute of every day you are building patterns, as I did, we all do, and building patterns into your child's life. Some of those might not be as intentional as you wanted them to be, and so you may end up with some unexpected results and feel a great deal of frustration because of it. Today, I want to talk to you about how you build a foundation. And the principle is that nothing, we'll talk about the old adage, Rome wasn't built in a day. Nothing of any value is built quickly. It takes time and perseverance and the right materials and the right tools, and sometimes trial and error, and sometimes the thing that you built, you have to take it back down again. Yeah, the principle of building, it's really a tough principle. So in Psalm 90, verse 17, God says, "May the favor of the Lord our God rest upon us." Like, come and live on me. Establish the work of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. Now, I'm a creator, okay? So I crochet, I knit, I hand applique, I quilt, I do cakes. I've done hundreds of wedding cakes. I have done a lot of creative things. Now, let me show you something. This just doesn't look like much. I mean, it's pretty, it's soft, it has a really good sheen, nice texturing, but it's not like you'd play with it or even necessarily call it beautiful. Okay, so it's a beginning though. This may not look like much, and you say, okay, well, I think those are buttons. I know, but what else are they? Or what are the other possibilities of what these could be? And these, with which maybe not many of you are very familiar, are doll's eyes. And I confess to you, the first, I think like 30 or 40 times I used these, I inserted them incorrectly. They'll never come out again because I superglued them. But honestly, I had to watch quite a few YouTube videos and various people make mistakes, in addition to my own, before I knew how to use them correctly. I'm just letting you know that in the building process, you have to gather in things, you have to have multiple possibilities, and you have to be able to kind of see the possibilities. Now, this little guy, it's really cute, but certainly isn't going to fit me or most of the rest of the humans that I know. And so, what in the world? Where am I going to put this? But after a lot of reading and planning and years of gaining skill and envisioning the possibilities, we come to this. So you see, this is the exact yarn which I used to create Sanford. And now we have someone that this little hat will fit upon. I show this to you because you need to understand in building into your child's life, usually you need to have some kind of a pattern. I developed a program when my kids were young about the kind of character traits I wanted them to have as men. I wanted them to be honest. I wanted them to be hardworking. I wanted them to be productive. Some hardworking people never get anything done. They kind of chase their tail because they aren't any good at planning. They're not very good at perseverance. So there are multiple things in that hardworking, industrious part that actually mattered to me. I wanted them to be kind. I wanted them to be thoughtful and mannerly and generous and conscientious with their money, financially responsible. I wanted them to be healthy. I wanted them to be strong I mean, strong internally as well as strong in their physicality. I had a plan. And because of that, because I had a foundation upon which to build in their lives, day after day after day after day after day, I took steps to build into them the things that I wanted. So the principle is that if you want your child to have a safe and secure environment, and you want them to be protected, and you want them to grow up to be a certain kind of a man or a woman, you need to gather materials, consider various possibilities, envision in your mind what that's going to look like, be willing to make adjustments, be willing to make mistakes. Be willing to rectify those mistakes. Go and look for people who knew more than you do and watch from them and learn from them and glean from them. Not that you're going to carbon copy everything they did, but that you're at least going to get the principle or the concepts out of what they're doing and how they're approaching things, so that for your sake in your parenting, you can start finding things that work in your life and start to use those things. Okay, so let's talk about this. A building block, just one, okay? A building block is your own consistency and the development of your own character. Remember, I said if I didn't have the skills and I had not practiced for quite some time, years and years to be truthful, making granny squares and simple baby blankets and little hats and little baby sweaters and booties, which are all really quite simple, I would have never been able to do this, like with this little guy, Sanford. This is called amigurumi, where you create little toys or little creatures, little dolls, and their clothing. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have all the time of skill building behind me. So, in your skill building, you need to commit to yourself. I'm going to learn. Honestly, I'm not going to tell you what that is because you need to make that decision for yourself. But whatever that is, I'm going to learn blank. Okay. And then I want you to actively pursue learning that. If you're not very consistent, if you go to bed at 2 in the morning one night and 8:30 the next night, and you get up at 6 o'clock one day and you're raring to go and you have your first cup of coffee and you're in really good shape, and the next day you're dragging yourself out of bed at 9:30 and the kids have been up already and they got their own cereal and they made this big mess all over the kitchen, then maybe one of the building blocks of your life is you need to gain consistency. And I will confess to you that that's not my life today as a retired person. I go to bed when I want and get up when I want. But as a mom, I did have to develop consistency because I like being up at night, but my kids were get up at 6:30 kind of kids, and I had to make those adjustments. So for me, that was a building block that I had to put into my life when my kids were young. Whatever that building block is for you, you need to determine today that you are going to gain the skills that you need to be able to be a successful parent. This won't be your first skill. I grant you that. There will be multiple skills that you're going to need to gain. All right, if you're a mom, let me talk to you about this. If you're not a very great cook, you're probably going to have to build some skill as a cook to be able to feed your kids nutritious meals and to teach your children what it means to be healthy. That might mean that you have to learn what to do with vegetables. Oh, heaven forbid. And I want to tell you a principle. If you feed your kids vegetables their whole lives, they'll grow up and eat vegetables. If you feed your kids junk food their whole lives, very good chance they're going to grow up and be junk food junkies their whole lives. That's what I mean. I cannot tell you just exactly what you have to do, what your skill building set needs to look like, what the tools are that you're missing, but I can tell you this. If you take a shoe, a hard shoe, and beat on a nail long enough, you'll probably get the nail in the wall. But that is not the ideal instrument to use. You can even take a pair of pliers and get a nail in the wall. Please don't ask me how I know this. But you might also have a hole in the wall. Whereas if you have a hammer and you know how to use it, you can easily and quickly get the nail into the wall where you wanted it. I call that, this is your toolbox. What do you have in your toolbox? If you only have one or two things that aren't well suited to the task You may or may not get the task done, but you'll go through a lot of frustration. You might even break some things, and it won't work nearly as well as learning to use the correct tool. So, my challenge for you today is this. I want you to make an assessment. I want you to write down, these are the things that I already have in my toolbox. I'm a good cook. I understand some things about nutrition. Dads, I'm really good when I get home from work about spending time with my kids rather than saying, I'm really tired. It's been a really big day. I've had so much stress. I'm just going to go in my man cave or sit down in my recliner and I want you to just leave me alone. That goes on the other side where you list your weaknesses. So I want you to put your strengths and your weaknesses. I don't think you need to make an exhaustive list, although you're welcome to do that. I think you should put about your 5 top strengths and your 5 top weaknesses onto that list today. That's all. All you need to do is make the list. But I earnestly believe that as you look at that list, it will help you see places where you probably need to develop new skills, get some new tools into your toolbox, and places where you have strengths that you can develop those strengths and you can see how am I going to pass those strengths on to my kids. Now, it is the truth. With kids, things are more easily caught than taught. It isn't that you should not purposefully teach your children, because I earnestly believe that we should. But you also need to understand that your children will catch on to who you are and reproduce your habits, your ideas, and your skills, really without you even trying super hard. So I want you to be aware that one of the principles of life is that we can build, and that building takes skill, and that building requires us, without any doubt at all, to have certain tools at our disposal. And it also requires us to continue to develop and develop and develop and then pass those things on. I just want to say to you, in recent days, I've taught 9 different people crochet. And I'm working right now on being certified as a certified crochet instructor. Okay? So even with my skill set, I'm still continuing to pass it on and I'm still continuing to develop this. And I want to encourage you to develop your skill set and build into your child's life and look at that principle of building as a great opportunity and a great gift and ask God to bless the work of your hands. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button. May today be a great joy to you as a parent, as well as a challenge, and may you rise to that challenge and build into your child's life. Thank you for joining me.